Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our channel. I am your host, Phal, and today we will be discussing the US-China trade war. But why that specifically? Well, for the last few years, the tension between these two major super economical powers hasn't quite died down, and instead it only keeps going up. So, because of that, we felt that it is of great importance that we discuss this thoroughly and from a more economical perspective. But, mind you, this video is mostly from the opinions of studying college students and can only be regarded as such. And so, with that out of the way, let's begin.
The US-China trade war. How did it all begin? It started in early 2018 when the US administration under President Donald Trump imposed unilateral tariffs on washing machines, solar panels, steel, and aluminum that the US imported from some of its major trading partners. In particular, China, which received the bulk of the US tariff late into 2018. Trump has said that he wants to reduce the large trade deficit that the US has with China. The US is also accusing China of stealing intellectual property from American business. It's claimed that American business has been forced to transfer their technology to their Chinese partner. China responds. China has denied IP theft and accused the US in return for starting the biggest trade war in economic history. How did the trade war escalate? On 6 July 2018, US placed 25% tariff on around 34 billion US dollar of import from China, including car, hard disks, and aircraft parts. China imposing 25% tariff on 545 goods originating from the US was 34 billion US dollar, including agricultural products, automobile, and aquatic products. The list of goods gets longer, and by the end of 2018, almost half of the products that the US imports from China has been hit with higher tariffs. On 1st December 2018, the US and China president met in Buenos Aires after the G20 summit. It the start of a truce in the trade war. Almost 5 months later, the two countries even seem close to a trade deal. Chinese negotiations are coming for Washington for a final round of talks.
Hello everyone, today I'll be here to show you guys the visualization USA vs China trade war. A trade war which began in 2018 with the imposition of tariff by the US on Chinese import was inspired by the classic game theory example in The Prisoner Dilemma, in which participants must choose whether to cooperate or collaborate. The greatest benefit will be acquired by cooperating, if a player decides to trade, and the lowest utility is obtained by choosing to compete, if the first player decides not to trade and the second player decides to trade. And if both players decide to participate, neither will benefit. Although trade between China and the United States has never been totally agreed upon, it was clearly progressing in the right direction. Trump is adamant about severing the connection with China following his victories as the President of the United States. He also believes that China is exploiting the United States for its own gains, so he refused to trade with them. The United States and China, as well as their trading connections, occupy a large part of this module. And as a result, regardless of what other player does, these two countries will always choose not to trade. They were gaining zero in utilities. And as a condition, we can also refer this to the real-world Nash equilibrium, simply put. And this is the end of my explanation. Thank you, everyone.
Greeting everyone, my name is Oum ChanChariya and I will be talking about the tension between nations of the US and China trade war. Do you ever wonder what happened to both countries after the trade war happened? So, I will assist you through this part. In recent years, there has been more discussion on the effects of trade with China, particularly due to the impact of Chinese imports on manufacturing employment. Many people throughout the world have been surprised by the trade war between the United States and China. It seemed impossible that the interdependence of the two greatest economies would be broken. President Donald Trump and members of his administration believe that China is ripping off the US by abusing free trade laws to the benefit of American businesses that are operating in China. President Xi Jinping has criticized Donald Trump's action as trade bullying and warned the tariffs might cause global financial instability. The US have been pressurizing China for more than 2 years to make a trade deal that would protect America's trade deficit and intellectual property and result in large purchases of American products. In the worst-case scenario, this tension might lead to the coupling of both economies, resulting in long-term global recession and new geopolitical conflict. While the markets are in spin and neither the terms nor outcomes of this latest stage are clear yet, what has been long clear is the widespread popular support of Donald Trump has for attacking China. Historically, the US was the leading producer globally. The reason production shifted to China was because it is a dangerous and environmentally damaging process that produces, amongst other things. Chinese capital was willing to win market share by tolerating such costs for returns were not considered adequate by US or other first world monopoly capital. So, the tension in the US and China trade relation threatened the entire global economy. Not just the relation inside the group of two, but as a result of the US-China trade cut, global growth can expected to decline by 0.5% in 2020. Moving on to the tension between the United States and China, on the other hand, are now driven more by the great power rivalries and nationalisms. Factors worsened by mutual suspension of each other's strategic objectives. The Joe Biden administration has highlighted the need to compete, confront, and cooperate. At the same time, when discussing the US complex relation with China, competition is for pursuing excellence, not killing of a rival, said by Chinese President Xi Jinping, said at the World Economic Forum in 2021. According to some experts, the response of China in a trade war with the US may be more painful for the American economy than for China. An increase the deliberate trade between the two countries raises the combined welfare mutually, whereas a decrease in intentional trade just reduces the collective welfare in both partnering countries, with creating a lose-lose scenario, leaving no winner in such game.
The China-US trade war tension has increased over the year and has affected people and a lot of sectors in both countries. In 2019, a study showed that the trade war has already cost the US economy nearly 300,000 jobs and estimated 0.3% of the GDP. Besides that, what I want to talk about is on the technology, advancement, and innovation side of it. Firstly, with the increasing tariff within both countries, foreign direct investment has significantly decreased its investment toward every sector, but technology related are the ones who are suffering the most. About 96% drop of foreign direct investment between China and US from 2016 to 2020. This is one of the reasons why both countries are upping their bid for technology and supply chain independence with a massive domestic investment. The United States has spent over $331 billion toward Innovation and Competition Act and domestic semiconductor research and manufacturing. For China, over $350 billion has been spent toward the R&D or research development sector. And in the next few years, China plans to spend even more, around $1.4 trillion toward artificial intelligence, AI, semiconductor, and 5G networking. Some of the benefits coming from this tension of the trade war is that China shows signs of shifting to a more friendly approach to multinational companies, which means those companies are having a much easier time working with China, at least for the time being.
The US-China trade war have impacted many parts of the world, and yes, it is also affected the consumer to some extent, as the trade dispute caused US to put a high tariff on Chinese export on both raw materials and finished product. So, the manufacturer has to spend more funds on purchasing raw material for manufacturing. Therefore, make the price of the finished good increase to some extent. Moreover, the finished product that is directly exported by China is also more expensive than other countries export. According to a study, the trade dispute is affecting the American more than the Chinese. The research also showed that the high tariff that is put on Chinese import to the US costs an American family on an average of $127 a year. Besides that, the trade war also affected other parts of the world besides US and China too. As a whole, the increment in tariff also weakened the world global economy. According to the Bank of Finland, the tariff already slowed down the world GDP growth by 0.7%.
Thank you for your awesome speech. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pheng Vita, and I will focus about the speculation of things coming forward. Let's start with the challenge. Now it's moved to away from a self-defeating Cold War by working within the international economic system to arbitrate and modern trade tension. Also, the initiative for such as an undertaking may need to come from Europe, given that Republicans and Democrats in the United States are united in their hardline approach toward China. In the same way, Europe and the United States may similar objective in dealing with China. But Europe is more economically integrated with China in the term of investment and trade flow. Because of this, the competitive aspect of their relationship offer more potential for mutual benefit. Moreover, Europe is neither as preoccupied with great power political nor as dependent on technology advantage as the United States, making the blocs more open to compromise. If the United States wants to preserve its technology and moral authority, it must first deal with economic and political weakness at home. Bemoaning China's unfair policies and authoritarian regime will not solve this problem. Instead, the United States should focus on strengthening its own economic competitiveness, forging internal political coalition, and working with Europeans and Asian partners to build enduring international institutions. Thank you for your attention and your time.
But with all these, Causes and effects of the US-China trade war. What exactly does it mean for China's business climate, or better yet, its businessmen? Well, for businesses that plan to operate under China, to put it simply, they would be having to face a conundrum, which one is to conform with China's prerequisites, or two, reject the notion entirely. Now let's dive deeper into those ideas, shall we? Now, China is actually the most populated country in the world, and it's no figure for business. They would actually find it profitable because more consumers equals more profit. But they forget one singular thing in operating business in China, is that their market is quite vastly different than your average one. And the only thing that could set them apart, your ideas apart, would be your innovation, or better yet, how your innovative products would actually help the consumers and the government. We could see an actual prime example of this with Tesla, when even though it was an outsider company, the Chinese market had welcomed it with open arms, because Tesla not only provided competition in the electrical vehicle industry in China, it also provided a sort of increase in innovation as well. So if you were able to achieve that, then that's a good step to take. And as for rejection, it's quite an idea to consider, because with the US trade war happening, many countries were able to benefit from it as well. As the trade diversion happens, many more supply lines were constructed to trade with the US. So more business opportunities are created elsewhere. So why take the risk of building it in China when you can build it in any other place that are prospering as well? And now leads me to my last idea of discussion. What does the future hold for China? Well, to say it frankly, speculating can be quite difficult. But the only thing that must be considered is that even with the US-China trade war peace agreement, phase 1, it has not reached its maximum fruition yet, and it will take time to recover. So for all businessmen alike, for any future decision, it must be something to consider. Thank you.